All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for joining us today. It's great to see you all, and we appreciate your interest in our brand new FarmPath program. We're so excited about it. We've been going across the country talking about it and meeting lots of young farmers, and that's just gotten us more and more excited. But we thought it would be a good idea to have this session today to see if there are other questions out there that we can help address and get people signed up for this really incredible opportunity. So I am Tim Brennan. I'm Vice President of Programs and Strategic Impact here at Farm Foundation. I'm here with my colleague, Jen Rosenthal. Jen is our brand new Farm Program Manager, and she will be the primary contact for this program. Also joining us is our Communications Manager, Ellen Prather. So Ellen, thanks for being on as well. Go on to the next slide. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Farm Foundation, but the first thing I want to do is recognize the two funders of this really important program, and that is the Mosaic Company Foundation for Sustainable Food Systems and the PepsiCo Foundation. Because of their foresight and their investment in the future of agriculture, they have made this really wonderful program possible. So we're extremely grateful to them, not only for the financial support, but for their thought leadership that helped create this program. I want to tell you a little bit about Farm Foundation. That picture that you're seeing right there is our farm campus, which I'll talk about in a minute. But Farm Foundation has been around for 93 years. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We're nonpartisan. We do not lobby. We don't advocate. We don't take sides on issues. We build large coalitions in order to tackle important issues across the entire food and ag value chain. Some people think of us as a think tank and a do tank, which I think is probably a pretty good way to understand what we do. So on one side of our work, we publish papers, we do studies, we get involved in really understanding issues, and then we take that information and we translate it out. And sometimes that translation is holding conferences or forums, and sometimes it's really building projects. And so we've created things like the Soil Health Institute and the Farm Family Wellness Alliance, two recent examples of work that started with a concept or a paper and developed into impactful work that has affected the whole value chain. So Farm Foundation is pretty unique. We were founded in 1933 by the CEO of International Harvester, whose name was Alexander Legg, and Frank Loudon, who was governor of Illinois. You can see our timeline here was really a private foundation up until about 1975. We're based in Illinois. We used to be downtown. We're now on our farm campus about 25 miles north of O'Hare Airport. But we began to transition during the 1970s up until the early 2000s into being more of a public charity. We've expanded and grew. But then in 2013, which is when I joined the team, it was really about having impact. And so we have really grown that over the past 2 decades to be really a very different kind of organization that's focused on ensuring a future for our farmers, our community, and our world. We work with all stakeholders, whether it is at the farm level or in the CEO's office at a food company, really everybody in between. We work with universities, companies, just the whole range of folks in the value chain. So as I mentioned, we have a beautiful campus, and here we are demonstrating part of our little corn project. So we demonstrate, last year I think we had 7 different kinds of corn. I think we're going to add a couple of more this year. If you're in Illinois, you got to talk about corn. Also on our campus, we have our soil health experience where we show 9 different types of soil health practices. Our campus is really an education tool to help folks through the entire value chain better understand decision making. So if you decide to do soil health practices, what does that look like? How does it affect your cost? How does it affect your productivity? All of those sorts of things. And so here's a picture, a beautiful picture from last summer. You can see some of our back fields with some of our crops growing. We have perennial crops there like asparagus and kernza, which is perennial wheat. Plus I mentioned all the corn, and then of course we also grow soybeans. And last year we even had a beautiful field of sunflowers. And we've also grown things to try and test the boundaries of climate change. So last year we grew peanuts on our campus to see how they would do in northern Illinois. And to our surprise, they did really, really well. So this year we're going to, I think, try cotton and see how that does up here in the north. So we also have a beautiful historic barn you can see. We do events there, and then a high-tech innovation center. We even have the original farmhouse that we've converted into a nice meeting space. So it's a really terrific place. And if you become part of this program and continue through it to the second and third year, very likely that you'll be visiting this campus. So FarmPath is just one part of our work. We rely on partnerships in a whole bunch of different ways, but some of our signature programming is our roundtable. So roundtable has been around since the 1950s. It is a convening of senior leaders in food and agriculture. So across that vast supply chain that I mentioned, they get together twice a year, have an off-the-record meeting, really focused on what's coming, what's the small thing today that's going to be a big thing tomorrow that will affect folks differently in the value chain. And we involve a lot of our next generation programs in Roundtable. We also do things like Ag 101 boot camps, which are on campus deep dives into the basics of agriculture. As a lot of you might know, people work in agriculture that didn't grow up on farms or didn't have or don't have an ag education from college or high school. And so these really help people get grounded in a basic understanding of how the American farm system works today and how it sort of carries through the value chain. And we have a suite of next generation programs. I mentioned those earlier. We've got about 7 different programs. We kind of pick up where 4-H and FFA leave off with the young professional, and you join that together with Roundtable, and involvement with Farm Foundation really lasts a lifetime. We also do forums, which you can see them monthly. You can also go to our homepage or to our YouTube page and see these. These are deep dives in specific topics. We had a really great one this past Tuesday. And so I encourage you to go and check out our forums if you want to really better understand what's happening in food and ag today at a pretty deep level with some really remarkable speakers. Okay, let's see. So just some important notes. I think we have for Q&A, Jen, I don't see the Q&A button, so maybe we just ask folks to put their questions in the chat function, and we'll get it from there. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible, but as they come up, go ahead and put them in there. We're also going to record this and put it on our website, which is farmpath.org. If you haven't seen it, we'll also put it up on the YouTube channel. Please do include your name and your profession so that we can understand where you're coming from. And even if you want to include where you're calling in from, that would be great as well. Okay. Next slide. Jen, is this you? Do you want to talk about FarmPath now? There we go.
Yes. Thank you, Tim. The Q&A should be there. Maybe go to more on the bottom of your layout there. It's there? Okay, great. So if everyone could go ahead and put questions in our Q&A section, that would be fantastic. All right, so let's jump in. My name is Jen, as Tim introduced earlier. Welcome, everyone. So there's a lot of questions around what is FarmPath, and today we're going to talk a little bit about it. But essentially, FarmPath is a free 3-year program designed to help aspiring and beginning farmers build the knowledge, connections, and confidence to succeed in today's agricultural system. Participants will gain practical education in business and financial management, operations, soil health, regenerative practices, and marketing, just to name a few of the topics we're going to cover. The program will also provide peer-to-peer networking, exposure to experienced mentors, and access to a national network of professionals working across food and agriculture, as Tim talked about earlier. This program goes beyond production skills to help new farmers understand the systems, markets, and decisions that shape long-term success. So importantly, this program is not about how to grow a certain crop, but why and where to grow a certain crop. All right. Now, I'm sure many of you are aware that American agriculture is facing a critical crossroads at the moment. Farmers are aging and barriers are rising. We risk losing generational knowledge and the backbone of our food system. American agriculture is also entering a period of major transition. Starting and sustaining a farm has never been more complex. Farming today requires navigating markets, policy, technology, and sustainability expectations. At the same time, many aspiring farmers lack access to networks, mentorship, business training, capital, and perhaps most critically, land. FarmPath seeks to bridge this gap. Not only will participants be able to engage through monthly virtual learning sessions, they will begin to build their peer networks through community discussions, collaborative problem solving, and regional networking. And in addition to gaining exposure to real-world farm decision-making, participants will have the opportunities to connect with agricultural leaders and professionals across the entire food and ag value chain. All right, so let's break down the years a little bit more. Year one is all about learning and exploration. We're seeking up to 300 individuals from across the US to participate in the virtual learning modules and engage in our community platform. By the end of year one, participants should understand the structure, challenges, and opportunities of US agriculture, develop foundational skills in farm business management, operations, and sustainability, and identify viable crops or enterprises that are suited to their goals and their region. When we move to year two, the focus will be on business plan development and advancement will become competitive. Up to 75 participants will be selected to build a detailed business plan and financial model for their farm enterprise. Additionally, participants will receive one-on-one mentorship with industry-leading experts, access to in-person learning and networking opportunities, and support to access financing and navigate programs. And finally, in year three, advancing participants will implement their business plans and launch their farming operations with ongoing support, continued mentorship, and up to $10,000 to help kickstart their plan. Individuals will also be welcomed into the Farm Foundation's robust national and alumni networks. Okay, so who should apply? You might be a good fit if you've been dreaming of owning your own farm or are passionately exploring whether farming is the right path for you. So these are newbies. You do not have to have farmed before. If you are interested in farming, we encourage you to apply to this program. Or you may be an early career farmer looking to strengthen or scale an existing farm business. Yes, urban farmers, this includes you. Perhaps you're a next generation family farmer set to inherit your family's farm, but you're interested in diversification, new approaches or practices, or new technology. You have a place in this program as well. Whether you're a first generation, fifth generation farmer, homesteading, row cropping, market gardening, growing tomatoes, or grazing cattle, if you're motivated and serious, FarmPath is for you. The opportunity for new farmers has never been greater, so we encourage you to apply today. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Tim before we jump into the Q&A.
Great. Thanks, Jen. So you should know about Jen and I. So I grew up on a farm in northeastern Ohio. My parents were very early adopters of organic produce, and so that's what we grew. We also had a goat dairy and did cheese and things like that. And Jen is a pretty modern farmer. Jen, you want to talk real quickly about what you did?
Sure. So my introduction into farming was in the city and a rooftop at that. So a little more unconventional, but urban farmers are growing rapidly. What's interesting about urban farming and a lot of the training programs that a lot of these urban farmers are coming out from are really, really skilled growers in a variety of crops and farming systems. And I can speak from experience as a first generation farmer myself. The barriers to grow and expand your business, mainly that land access component, is one of the toughest. So that is, actual, uh, something that I've gone through myself and hope to help others in this program navigate.
Great. So I currently live on a small farm. It's a hobby farm where I try out all different things, but I live in one of the largest sort of ex-bourbon counties around Chicago that at this point my community is still 85% agriculture, but we're losing a lot of that agricultural land to things like solar fields and other forms of development. And so one of the inspirations for this program was really figuring out things like land access and how do you partner with farmers, existing farmers to start help to help them or their families diversify their operations. And so all of this experience that we have put into this program is very personal for us. We've lived many of the aspects of this. And so, of course, I think one of the biggest questions before we jump into your questions is a time commitment. How much is this going to take? So in year one, we're going to do everything online. So it'll be learning modules. There will be 10 of them. The sessions will be no longer than 2 hours apiece. We're going to do them probably in the evenings between 5 and 7 p.m. Central Time to make it good. If you can't make every meeting, that is okay. We're going to record them and have them available. We are building a really wonderful online community site where you'll be able to access those events as well as other materials that we're putting together. There is no cost for this program. As I mentioned, thanks to our great sponsors of the Mosaic Foundation and the PepsiCo Foundation, all the costs are covered for this. What makes this program different from other ones is that it's focused on business and systems knowledge. As Jen said, it's really not to teach you how to be a farmer or how to grow something, but really it's about how to plan your business, how to build it out, how to react to the systematic changes happening in food and agriculture today, and how to best take advantage of the opportunities that these changes are creating. It really is a multi-year pathway. It's not a one-time program. And I think as it says here, this part of what you're getting in this program is a really incredible peer network. Farm Foundation, as you heard earlier, has been around for a long time, and we work with folks across the value chain. So being part of our network comes with a lot of opportunity, comes with responsibility as well, to be an active participant in that community and to give as much as you're receiving, but it pays you back in dividends. There's questions about the application. We made the application as simple as we possibly can. We're trying to reach 300 beginning farmers or farmers in transition or just farm curious folks. And so we kept it really simple. And I think if you're as passionate about food and ag as we are, it shouldn't take you too long to fill out that application. Okay. Next slide. Should we just open up the Q&A? I think we've got one question
Yes,
already
and before we answer the first questions that are coming in, I just want to remind everyone that applications are now open at farmpath.org. I've dropped the link in the chat for you to make it simple. The application deadline is Monday, March 23rd at 5 p.m. Central Time, and the application is the only entry point into the 3-year program. Participants will be notified in early April, and the program will officially kick off in May.
Great. So, Jen, the first question from Kevin, it's how do you envision this program from being different compared to other programs conducted by University Extension or farm and ranch business management programs? And so in some ways it's going to be a lot alike, and in other ways it will be different. And so what's different is we're not going to really focus on production practices. It really is about planning. It's about understanding the market. It's going to be, the trends in food and agriculture, how you're listening to what consumers are asking for, how you're interfacing with production folks, how you're interfacing with processors, how you're interfacing with CPG companies. All of that will be part of this program. I'd say in lots of ways it kind of reflects, if we could give out a bachelor degree in farm building, this would be what this program would look like. So It will also, I think, have the opportunity on that community side, I think, which is different than a lot of these programs. You will be part of a national community of people just like you who are struggling with their ideas or trying to bring things to market, and you'll have access to expertise that's more than just an extension agent, but really, a vast range of folks to take your problems or your ideas or your opportunities to. The next question, Jen, is there an interview component to the acceptance decision? And I'll let you answer that one.
Great. Or are decisions about participation made solely on the application? So we are not implementing a interview component for the first year. As we mentioned, we're trying to cast a wide net, 300 individuals from across the country. We will be looking at your written statements. Should we have over 300 participants apply? And then that way we would have to make some decisions. But generally, we really want to make this as easy as possible and have the most effect and impact on as many people as possible. Moving into year two, it is going to be more competitive, and there will be another reapplication component with the possibility of an interview at that time. So, thank you for your question. And I'm
The next
gonna
question is,
go ahead,
oh,
Tim.
the next question is concerning how do you best live and farm with green energy products regarding how to steward and further utilize the soil underneath sited solar operations. That's a great question. It's something we talk about a lot these days, about agrovoltaics as it's referred to, but how to grow around these. So we see a lot of opportunity in this. As you heard earlier in the presentation, soil health is a really important part of what we do. Agronomy and discussions about agronomy are going to be a really big part of what we do, and the experts that we bring in. And there is opportunities within those solar fields to grow, especially if you're in hot areas. They think that, or they have tested and found that growing underneath solar panels can reduce your soil temperature by 10%, which is really great if you're trying to extend cold crops like lettuce and things like that. But it's also really great if you're growing in places where it's getting too hot. Lowering the temperature is great, but also the opportunity lies in land access. A lot of these solar companies that are going around and talking to communities just like mine, my community just approved a 4,000 acre solar project on prime farmland here in Illinois. And there's a lot of questions and a lot of promises being made about what they're going to grow or how are they going to maintain around that. We're working on talking to those companies right now about getting access for our young farmers to that land, to be able to grow underneath it. And for them, those companies to plan carefully to allow access to things like equipment that won't damage what they're building, but will leave enough space for us to be able to farm. So yes, long way to answer your question. That's going to be a part of it, and great question. Any other questions?
All right, we've got another one. Says, good morning. I'll be graduating from Purdue this May and entering a 2-year rotational program. Will I still be eligible for this program? I aim to farm part-time after finishing the rotational program and entering a permanent position. I think absolutely. This is, I think, a perfect program to run parallel with a program that you are participating, such as a program at Purdue. We really feel like year one is a lot of the learning and exploration. And I was really cognizant when I came in that I knew that we were going to be attracting people who are actually farming, and I know how busy a farm season is. And so we wanted to keep it as minimal as possible, once a month in peak season, with those learning modules at around 2 hours in the evening. And they will all be recorded so that you can view them at a later time should you miss them live. And then we double up in October and November, sort of on the shoulder seasons, and we'll have 2 learning modules per month in those months. So I think that if you are thinking about doing two programs at once, I think it's absolutely possible to do that here. So thank you for that question.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, seeing no other questions, just thanks so much for joining us. We encourage you to submit your application as soon as possible. The deadline is on March 23rd. So you've just got 11 days to do that. So we encourage you to do that. You can also, if you think of other question later, you can send a message to help@farmpath.org. And we would also encourage you to check out our social media pages. We share all sorts of interesting information and programs and projects and things. So check us out on LinkedIn and Facebook. And as I mentioned earlier, our YouTube channel where you can watch videos of some of our programs, including our forums. Jen, anything else?
I just really want to stress that anyone thinking about this program, to not be intimidated, and please do not think that you don't have a seat here at the table with us. One of the great things about Farm Foundation is that we collaborate with many different stakeholders. We look at it as a big tent and sandbox, for everyone to join in and share their ideas. And I want to stress that, this is not exclusively for people who are already farming currently. We want to invite people who are at that exploration stage. We think that understanding the business side of farming even before you begin might give you ideas and inspiration to build your enterprise in a certain way that you might not have been thinking about previously. We also want to invite those folks that might be coming from farm families and might not be as excited to follow in the footsteps of maybe mom and dad or grandma and grandpa looking to diversify or implement new growing practices. That there's space for you at this table as well. And those who are farming in cities and in peri-urban, um, I feel like there is such a huge future for all of these growers. And they have the skills and they have the knowledge to grow just about anything under the sun. And we want to be able to help those with some of those barriers that could be holding them back from attaining their farm dreams. So really, we want to encourage you to share widely. Again, this application is the only entry point to this 3-year program. Once it does close, that will be it. So please don't be shy. If you go and check out the application, you will see that it is very easy and straightforward. Don't feel intimidated, and I will put a link to our application directly in the chat. And yeah, as a first generation farmer that um, has struggled with a lot of these barriers, I know how meaningful practical education, early mentorship, and community support is to new and beginning farmers. And I think that this is an incredible program that FarmPath is putting together, and I'm very excited to be part of it, just speaking from my own experience. So, thank you, everyone. If that, thank you, Noah. If there aren't any more questions, we'll go ahead and wrap things up for this afternoon. Again, if you have any questions or are watching this after the fact, you can always contact us on farmpath.org website, or you can reach out directly and email help at farmpath.org. So thank you again for your time this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing many of you apply.